Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. And this one is going to be about mastering. It's Dray's track, which is out now on Spinning Next. Make sure to give it a listen. This was only about a mastering job. It's to start this video, I think it's important to kind of point out the differences between mastering and mixing. The best way I can put it is mastering is basically just preparing a track for release. It's really nothing else, just making the adjustments necessary to compete with other similar sounding tracks. Well, on the other hand, mixing is a million more creative adjustments. Mastering does not really want to be, sometimes it wants to be creative, but really just that additional 1 or maybe 2% of change or decision making. The bulk of the decision making has to happen during production and mixing, and once it's there to master the track, that's basically just a point to make sure that it's ready for release, and there's not too much low end going on throughout the whole track, and there's not too much high end going on throughout the whole track, or like middle frequencies and etc. etc. Obviously, you know, this also presents another kind of a challenge where sometimes my point of view, how I imagine the perfect tonal balance, and sometimes the artist how he or she envisions the perfect tonal balance is not the same. but I kind of know, and I have heard what Dray is shooting for regarding this track, so I really just try to make subtle changes here, and really just to make sure, again, I'm balancing the track and I'm not adding anything unnecessary, creatively unnecessary. Hope this makes sense. And yeah, I mean, let's get to it. My first adjustment was to use this dynamic EQ to take care of a little bit of both the low end and a little bit of the high end in that mid-high range, you know, around like 6K, which I felt a little bit lacking, even though later on I will back off of this decision. But I wanted to, so because of the vibe of this whole track, this wants to be this kind of how do you say, it's like vintage on purpose. I just wanted to give that vintage sizzle to it in the high end, not overdo it, but which is not too sharp, but sizzling, if this makes sense. The best way to do this is, in my opinion at least, is this Massive Passive plugin. I use this one a lot, even on not so vintagey YB tracks, because I really just love how this one sounds, really, especially with the high end. So yeah, that's what I'm going for here. That's why I'm making all of these adjustments that I'm doing. Throughout, and I do this during even the production if I'm producing a track, even the mixing if I'm mixing a track. In this case I'm only mastering, but even at the mastering stage I always check my metrics, the loudness, the tonal balance. I will listen in mono, listen only to the sides later on. So I always check everything to really just to make sure that everything is in check. That's that's the best way I can put it. Yeah, here while I was listening to that part where the hi-hats are disappearing, I felt that the change between the sizzling and the non-hi-hat section is a little bit too drastic. It feels like the track gets blunt instead of just flowing, which I want in most cases. So I decided to put on another dynamic EQ, and instead of getting rid of the sizzle, which I liked, you know, I just wanted to do a different type of EQing where I'm just carving this high end out a little bit so that the flow is going to be less radical once the hi-hats disappear, if this makes sense. And even seems like the tonal balance control gives me a good response of this, because it turns out that I'm not going too overboard with this one if I have the dynamic EQ there, whereas probably with the sizzles, even though I didn't check, probably I went a little bit overboard with the high end. So this was a good adjustment there. As I just saw the level meter went a little bit into the red, I decided to put on the end limiter and then make all the other decisions with the limiter being present already, because I was kind of happy already with how the tonal shaping took place with these EQs. And at this point I was just, you know, mostly looking for like really subtle changes, you know, mostly like in the stereo field, and less so about like EQing anything. plugin, the alpha compressor, and I already showed this video to Dray, and he said like, wow, what a nice plugin. And this one has a very specific use case in my arsenal in most cases. Like I'm either using it as a soft clipper, which is very good on, like, for example, kick drums if I'm going again for a kind of a vintagey vibe. But in the stereo bus, I usually use it as a mid-side compressor because it's very light. This is a mastering compressor, so it's again not going to do radical changes, and I can dial in exactly what I want. So what I did here is I just compressed the side signal differently a little bit from the mid signal. Basically only unlinking without compressing anything would have already improved the situation, because I just felt that in the breakdown parts the stereo image was a little bit messy. I don't know, it just wasn't controlled, you know. And so I think this is a great plugin to get anything of this caliber under control. It's also touching the tonal balance in a very musical way, which I also very much like. And this is the native version of the plugin. Again, like this plugin is available on the UAD platform as well. But I just I trialed both of these for a while, and I just think that, you know, these two plugins are basically the same. They are nulling at whatever I'm doing. And yeah, just checking the mono and doing some slight stereo adjustments. And as I did this, it kind of hit me that there's a couple resonances in the track, which are, well, they're not annoying, but they are mostly a little bit too present and a little bit too forward. I did not want to remove them completely because I think they are contributing to the track. Like these are there on purpose, kind of. Like without them, the character of the track would like suffer, I guess. So I did not want to remove them completely, but just a little bit of like, you know, keeping them more controlled. I had a decision once I've just seen this breakdown with the, so just how big the level difference between the loudest and these you know, more quieter parts of the track. I had a decision whether to, like, you know, like a little bit pump up a little bit of the breakdown or not, but I decided not to go for it because the leveling of the vocals are same throughout the drop and in the breakdown. So if I go ahead and I pump a little bit the level of the breakdown, then that's going to make the vocals in the drop a little bit like less significant, which I didn't want to do. Like, you know, in the case of this track, obviously the vocals are mixed in a way where they are not on top necessarily, so they are not it's not a poppy direction of a mix. But at the same time, you know, I did not want to like make them less significant than how significant they are in the mix to begin with. So I decided to, like, you know, leave this dynamics gap here. Probably the maximizer and the alpha compressor is also a little bit helping, not with pumping up the break, but with pumping down a little bit of the drop parts. So I think this approach was the best for this track. And yeah, this is basically, usually these are the final parts of mastering, you know. I'm just making sure that the stereo is as good as it can be by making these direct adjustments instead of using like mid-side compression or something, just, you know, a targeted dynamic EQ in the side frequencies or in the mid frequencies only. So I'm just taking the whole spectrum into consideration whenever I'm kind of, you know, I feel that I'm kind of there. I just want to make sure that everything is as good as it can be. I sometimes do this, although this is usually going the other way. It will depend on the overall character of the track, because the Pro L2 can sometimes a little bit add too much character to some tracks. And if you have like, you know, a very information heavy mid-range, then this is not a really great limiter to be at the very end of your chain. You know, at least this is what I found. So, but in the case of this track, because, you know, Dray's mixes is kind of in the mid lows is not so strong, so it can use a little bit more characterization. And so I went with the Pro L2 to add a little bit more level, like a decibel or so, which then in the end, you know, I don't have that one filmed, but we backed off of it a little bit. And so yeah, at this point it was just, you know, time to compare the original mix, you know, with the loudness matched, obviously. I did not just want to hear that, oh, I made it so much louder, I'm so much better. Like, no, obviously match the loudness at all times when you're comparing the raw unprocessed mix with your master. And yeah, I'm just checking the side information, if in the sides, you know, everything is sounding good, or maybe there's, you know, too much low end in the sides, because that could happen, you know, sometimes when you're listening to the whole mix. In that context, sometimes you might not catch something that's kind of irritating if you're only listening to the side signal. So that's why I just made this little low end reducement in the stereo image. And yeah, at this point, you know, it was basically done. I'm preparing this file for release, so I'm responsible for making sure that the start of the audio file is correct and the ending of the audio file is correct. So I need to fade out the end and like repair whatever problem might be happening in the start of the audio file. In the start, I've already checked before I started making the video that there was no problem, but in the end, the audio tail was cut off instead of, you know, fading out. So I just decided to make this change. So yeah, basically this would be it. Hopefully you enjoyed the song, and hopefully you've seen my contribution to the song also. Good type of contribution. And yeah, make sure to check the song out. It's already out now. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.